Hello, everybody, and welcome into Perspectives. It's good to have you with us. We're no longer doing the home edition. We have broken free of the confines of COVID for now. We'll have more on that down the road. I hope not. I hope it doesn't interfere the way it's starting to interfere in some cities and towns around the world, but we'll keep an eye on it. Our guest today is an old friend. Haven't seen him in years. He's an experienced crappie fisherman, and he's in the driver's seat at the Tulsa Boys Home. Gregg Conway. Greg, good to see you.
Great to see you, Sam. It's been a while.
It has been. For the folks that
Yep.
might not be familiar with it in this part of the country, give us an overview, if you will, of the Tulsa Boys Home.
Sure. So it's been my honor, Sam, and privilege to be in the leadership position of the Tulsa Boys Home at this point in its evolution for 25 years now. Next week is my 25-year anniversary. And I am
Congratulations.
yeah, thanks. It's been a great run so far. I'm passionate about our work here at the Boys Home. It's pretty much the anchor of the last 25 years here, Sam, of my life's work on the planet Earth, I think. And I'm not looking forward to going anywhere else anytime soon. So anyway, 25 years and counting, God willing.
We're looking at video right now. Is that of the existing facility, or is that a plan on the drawing board?
This is the existing facility, Sam, that we rebuilt the entire campus of the Tulsa Boys Home here in Sand Springs, just outside the city limits. Back, we were under construction between 2002 and 2005, and we literally rebuilt the entire campus using a master facilities plan that we developed with an architect and a contractor friend of mine. And so, yeah, though that is the existing campus. We think of it as the new campus, but it's been around now in the way that it looks for approximately 17 years. So it's really not that new. I still think of it as new, though. But
you've been in the driver's seat long enough to know both what exists with a physical plant and to have a pretty solid working knowledge of boys in trouble or boys in need of help or support. Are the numbers pretty high?
They really are, Sam. And here's what's really telling, is that when I came here in 1997, in April 14th, one of the first questions I asked my staff was, so about how many boys on our campus at that point in time are on some sort of a psychotropic medication for a mental health issue? And the response was 15%, 15. Sam, take a guess at how many of our boys, what the percentage of our boys today is that are on some sort of one or more of a psychotropic medication for substantial mental illness.
I have no idea.
It's 80%.
You're kidding.
80% of our 64 boys are on one or more psychotropic medication for, the trauma that they experienced in early childhood. These are the boys that we work with at the Boys Home at this point in time who have had, well, we read about them in the Tulsa World and watched them on the news. We learned about them 10 years ago when they were 3, 4, and 5-year-old little boys, and DHS rescued them from evil, wicked circumstances in their biological home, where they were extremely neglected or physically abused, sexually abused, all of the evil horror stories you've ever heard and read about. These are the guys that we work with now at Tulsa Boys Home.
That's staggering. The amount, I mean, it hits you where you live.
Yeah.
What's the wish list for the boys? What do you need?
Well, the biggest need that we have, of course, on an ongoing basis is funding. Our budget continues to grow like everybody's budgets at home for food, clothing, medication, um, our staff. We have 94 full-time staff at the boys' home. And again, sometimes people say, well, you have 64 boys, but you have 94 staff. How does that work? Well, you got to keep in mind that we are open 365 days of the year. So 7 days a week, 3 shifts a day, 24 hours a day.
24/7.
It takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 24/7. So it's, residential care in any form
There's
is
always,
not.
I know young boys have a need, if you will, for this is mine. I was given this. This is mine. And one of those needs that needs to be filled is suitcases.
Yes.
How desperate are you?
Yeah, these boys show up with all of their personal effects, all of their belongings, Sam, in a Walmart sack or a brown paper bag. I mean, that's it. So if folks out there in the community have a suitcase or a tote bag, a knapsack of some sort that they aren't using anymore, or if they want to, purchase some new ones, that's a big ticket item for us. So that when they leave the boys' home at some point, someday, they have, some decent luggage that they can ferry around all of their personal effects.
Greg, I know you've seen some of the boys in all your years there move on. Have you been in a position to keep track of them, to find out, was it a success what we gave them here, or is it going to be a success when they hit the road?
Right. Yes, Sam. And that's the $1 million question, right? So where do these boys go when they leave the boys' home? And then how are they doing? Do we track them? We don't officially track them. We've tried to do that in the past, to stay in touch with them and track them, and so that we could have some sort of black and white outcome stats, some hard data. It's challenging to do that, but I will say this. I am personally probably in contact with and stay in communication with about 5 or 6 boys at any point in time that have left the boys' home. I mean, there's boys right now that I'm in touch with that left the boys' home 10 years ago, and I still am in communication with them. I even see one of them on a regular basis and take him and his bride out to dinner every now and then. There's another young boy that just graduated from Army boot camp, and he left here several years ago when he turned 18, and he is graduating from the detention officer training program at David L. Moss on Monday, this coming Monday. So, and then there's another boy that I stay in close contact with, and I'm going to his graduation from high school, and I think that is it's out west of town, west of Manford. But anyway, so yeah, I went to an adoption hearing last summer for one of our boys who was adopted by one of our volunteers, and that is really the optimum, Sam. We are not set up to be a long-term facility anymore for these boys like it was back in the old days. We still have boys who are wards of the state. They come through the child welfare system of DHS. Their parental rights were terminated because of abuse and neglect, not because their parents were killed in the war or died of the bubonic plague or whatever, But these are the orphans of the 21st century. And we are really focused on right now on creating our own network of foster homes for these boys, and ideally some adoptive homes.
Well, it would seem to me, Greg, that a lot of these youngsters, after a certain period of time, view you and this facility, the Tulsa Boys Home, as their home, and you and perhaps others who work there as father figures.
I think that would be accurate perception, Sam.
Because of what they've been through, the trauma they experienced never really leaves them. And that also is a suitcase they've got to carry the rest of their lives. How they carry that suitcase will determine, do they contribute to society, or do they go out and put another dent in the eggshell? But the way you guys handle it, it strikes me that they constantly look over your shoulder and say, this was better than that, and I want this for my family.
Right, exactly. And you know what, Sam, there's a lot of words that I could say about our work here at the Tulsa Boys Home in terms of describing it, and what we do, how we do it, and all that. But at the end of the day, you could distill it all down to really two words, I think. The Tulsa Boys Home at this point in our evolution is a place of healing and of hope. If we can help these guys heal and give them a sense of hope for a future that is different from the past that they came from, I think that, we've done a lot.
Gregg.
And the other thing I think at the bottom line for me, Sam, too, is that I think we are really focused on breaking the chain or the cycle of abuse and neglect.
You do realize that was 274 words instead of 2.
Nah. Yes.
You're bad about that. You're getting sneaky on me. We've got 1 minute. I need to ask you about the Run for the Roses.
Yes. Our biggest fundraiser of the year, Sam. The first time this year, it'll be live and in person since 2019 because of COVID. We had to stand down. We gave it a go doing it virtually 2 years in a row, and it just wasn't the same. I mean, God bless all of our supporters and contributors, donors, but yes, in fact, your lovely, beautiful daughter, Neely.
Which one? I got 2 of them.
Neely is my co-MC for this year's Run for the Roses event on Saturday, May 7th, at the Fairgrounds Pavilion. And she is just a delight to be around, to work with. And so she was my co-MC back in 2019 and possibly even before that.
Okay, listen, my friend, we're out of time. Talk to you,
All
Gregg.
right, my friend.
Thanks
Good
for
to see
dropping
you,
in.
Sam. Thank you.
That was Gregg Conway with Tulsa Boys Home. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.